Hi, I'm Tuulia of Honesty Europe, answering people's questions. And now I'm answering a question that I have actually pondered about myself too, which is this usage of you wording a lot that seems to be happening more and more. I give you an example so everybody knows you know what I mean. I know what I mean. This kind of like people talk about themselves and using you maybe as a way to generalize things or something like that. When it's raining, you get sad or down, and then you don't really want to leave the house, and then um, then you don't feel like going to the supermarket, you don't feel like cooking, then you stay home all day and you watch Netflix, and then you go to sleep, and the next day it's still raining, and da da da. So basically, you're talking about yourself and avoiding the using the language I. I also personally feel kind of annoyed with that kind of language, and I find that it's kind of distancing yourself from what you're sharing and talking about, and somehow in a weird way generalizing, even though in this illustrative example, when it's raining, not everybody acts or behaves the same way, not everybody feels depressed or doesn't want to leave the house or whatever. So yeah, that's like one example of people using language more and more currently, that it's somehow distancing themselves from what they are sharing and talking about, in a way that I judge it's a way to make themselves less vulnerable, less open, less kind of sharing and connecting. And of course, throughout the times, we people, and I'm saying we, and making a generalization, tend to use language in a more global and generalized way. And somehow many of us have learned that's a more safe way to be than I am this is what happened to me, this is what I feel, this is what I want. There is something a bit scary and vulnerable and personal about that, and especially if other people are using the global general language, then it might be difficult to stick with the I language. I do personally find that it's, for me, so much nicer when people are owning what is happening to them, what they are feeling, and using I language and clear language. Another example that I have noticed is this kind of passive. Yeah, people get sad when there is hunger in the world and there is people suffering, and many don't really like it or have hard time figuring out what to do about it. People feel depressed. Yeah, there's a lot of sadness and depression in the world. Da da da. Instead of saying, I'm sad that there is hunger in the world. I'm sad that people are hungry. I'm sad that I don't know what to do about it. Then I don't really find so many tools to influence the situation. Yeah. So that's one way. And then one that we also address quite a bit in the Radical Honesty workshops as a verbal taboo, we propose that people don't use the it language. It makes me so mad that it's raining. It makes me sad that there is hunger in the world. It makes me depressed that Donald Trump is a president, rather than I'm depressed and Donald Trump is a president. I'm mad and it's raining. We also prefer not to use the because word too much, because that's very mental kind of way of talking. So instead of it, using the word I, this is what I'm feeling. There is no it that makes me feel in a certain way. What is the it? So it's basically a way to contribute your feelings, whatever is happening in you or to you, to some external source that is not even defined. What is the it? God, the world, somebody else, your family. So there is no it. So we prefer like owning, because we are the creators of everything that happens in us and happens to us. which I find actually really empowering thought. So all right, this is me talking a little bit about the language that many people like using, which is a way to distance rather than like get personal, get intimate, get connected with the I language and owning stuff. And other thing that I prefer not to use, as it tends to not to be true, is words like never, always, and so on, because most things are not actually never or always. They might be most of the time, or often, or very often, or hardly ever, which might be then instead of never, or I don't remember when so and so happened. So also this kind of black and white language I prefer not to use, because then I might end up in a fight where we are fighting, is it always? Well, there was one time 3 years ago when that didn't happen. Like, you're always late versus I just most of the time you're late. Or I never eat candies. Most of the time I don't eat candies, and I did sometimes, maybe as a kid or as a teenager or 3 years ago or whatever. Hey, if you have comments on this, let me know. I would be curious to hear if you have found other kind of this use of language that is having this distancing element in it. I'm Tuulia of Honesty Europe. Ciao.